This is episode 34, BreakDOWN or BreakTHROUGH. It's a choice. Welcome to Alive by Design. My name is Blake Mallon, and we're here to bring you inspiring people, principles, and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. Open your mind and let's dive in. Hey guys, before you listen to the podcast, I just want to drop in and say I appreciate you for being here, and I'm super excited about this new Walk With Me series. These are solo episodes where I take some time in the middle of my morning run through the Santa Monica Mountains to share some inspired ideas and thoughts on my mind and heart. If you want to join me for any of these conversations live, you can catch me many mornings on my Facebook page, facebook.com/BlakeMallon.page. Would love to see you there. Love you guys. Enjoy the episode. Walk with me for a few minutes. So be honest with me, have you hit your breaking point yet? Gotten close? Seen anyone around you over the last few weeks or last few months hit that point? I don't blame you. I don't blame them. It's been a crazy 2020 so far. So much tension, pressure, confrontation, change. A lot of people are getting to that breaking point. Now, when I say breaking point, I know your first thought is probably when someone hits that moment, that definitive milestone where they break down, regress, fall, go backwards. And that can be a breaking point. But I also believe a breaking point can also be that definitive moment where someone breaks through. Breaks through the wall, breaks through the threshold, grows, rises, sets a new standard, a new baseline, goes to a new level. You see, a breaking point is one of two directions: break down or break through. And I want to talk about that moment that many of us have had in our lives. I'm sure a few of them. How many of you can think of a breaking point you've had in your life where you either broke down or you broke through? And I want to talk about that today because I think during this time especially, with so much we are being tested with, I think more people than ever are hitting these breaking points. And I want to make sure all of us have the opportunity to know that it's not just one direction. It's not just a mandatory option to break down. It is a choice to break through. And I want to talk about how we do that, and specifically three things that how we respond to are going to determine which direction you go. Beautiful day here. Sun's starting to come out. Breaking points. So I want to start with a story that'll illustrate, I think, the point a lot of us are in right now. And if we're not in, we're probably will be in sometime in the near future. How many of you have ever heard the story of R.U. Darby? Give me some feedback if you've ever heard the story of R.U. Darby. For those of you not familiar with the story, it's a good one. R.U. Darby was someone that was born around the 1900s, or lived around the 1900s, out in Maryland. And this was the time that the Wild Wild West was going through the gold rush. And there's so much conversation of these massive gold mines being found and lives transforming, legacies transforming by digging, obviously, this precious stone out of the ground. And R.U. Darby's uncle had heard rumors of all of this happening out west, and R.U. Darby and his uncle decided this was going to be their move. They were going to pack up from Maryland, head out to Colorado, and they were going to be the ones that, struck it rich. And they did it. They made the decision. They moved out to Colorado, and, actually they ended up finding a gold vein that the more they looked into, the more they dug, the more they believed that this was going to be like the largest gold strike that anybody had found to date. Like everything they saw, everything they got back, everything they studied, they said, this is it. So all of a sudden they're like, wow, we made it. We're about to change our lives, our families' lives, our families' lives. And they rushed back to Maryland and they bought all the equipment, all the machines, everything they needed to go, mine this gold. And they returned back to Colorado and they started digging and sure enough, pulling up gold after gold. But then all of a sudden it just stopped. Like it stopped. They no longer were pulling up any gold and it made no sense. So like all their calculations, everything they thought like it should be here and it just like vanished. And they went from, the mindset of, wow, this is our break. This is it. Our lives are changed. To after digging and digging and digging and digging and digging and coming up with nothing. Pretty soon their mindset shifted from, wow, this was their opportunity to, man, they were foolish to think that this was their break. Who are we to think that, we're going to be the lucky ones? Who are we to think that we're going to be able to have the moment to change our family, to live wealthy? And their mindset shifted to a negative state until after long enough in that negative state, they gave up. They're like, this is stupid. We're wasting our life. We're wasting our time. Everyone around us had said we were wrong. We're right? We don't deserve this. Any of these conversations sound familiar, by the way? And so they quit. And they ended up selling their equipment for pennies on the dollar to somebody else out there in Colorado, and they returned home to Maryland. And the person they sold it to was at least smart enough to go find a specialist to see if there was really anything here, and brought in a specialist, and the specialist looked and validated the same thing that R.U. Darby and his family said initially, like this should be the largest gold vein ever discovered. But see, the specialist knew something that R.U. Darby and his family didn't know and didn't get advice from. They said, you don't understand, this area is on a fault line. And at some point in the past, the fault line had shifted, which created this gap in the gold. And the specialist said, by my calculation, the gold is here, but the gold is 3 feet in a different direction from where R.U. Darby and his family stopped digging. And sure enough, the new owner started digging, and exactly 3 feet from where R.U. Darby stopped, sure enough, they discovered what ended up being one of the largest gold veins in American history. And that owner who bought all the equipment for pennies on the dollar and got the specialist to help and ended up becoming one of the wealthiest gold tycoons of the time. 3 feet. R.U. Darby stopped 3 feet from gold. Now I'll let you kind of extract the lessons from that story. There's quite a few. For those of you guys that end up feeling bad for R.U. Darby, the good thing about him is he learned the lesson after going through a phase where he realized, man, he was the guy that stopped 3 feet from gold, that quit 3 feet from gold, that he lost a fortune because he quit 3 feet from gold. He ended up redirecting that energy into insurance back in Maryland and actually became one of the few people at the time that sold over $1 million in insurance. And this is like early 1900s. So ended up creating wealth because of the lesson in a different direction. Kind of a cool twist to the story. Why do I share this story right now? R.U. Darby hit a breaking point. Had a bunch hit him all at once. A bunch of doubt. Attacks on his ego, obstacles, resistance, and he broke down. You see, I think a lot of us have experienced this year getting close to one of those moments. How many of you already this year in 2020 have gotten to a point where, man, you felt like you were going to break down? How many of you are in that moment right now? You're focused on something, you want something, you see something. There's a part of you that knows you deserve something. You're giving it all you got, but you don't know how much more you can give. And if you haven't experienced that, I don't know, maybe you're not focused on a big enough vision, and maybe we gotta reset a goal. But if you're focused and you're moving and you're going, you're gonna hit these breaking points. And I see so many people that put in the effort, that set the right goal, that have the right intention, that do the work. And they do the work for a period of time. And they go and they go and they go. And when they don't strike gold day one, week one, month one, year one, or quick as they wanted or first anticipated, they get to a point where they break down. And so many people break down 3 feet from their goal right before the breakthrough moment. You guys see, when you hit a breaking point, that's the point where you decide, are you breaking down or are you breaking through? It's that last moment where you feel like everything's colliding, world is caving in, you're out of breath, you can't go any further, you've given it all you got. But it's in that moment that you decide, are you gonna break down or break through? And when you push just past that moment, so often, you find 3 more feet beyond the point you feel was your last. You get your breakthrough. And so many of you right now, you might be in that moment right now with what you're focused on, what you're striving for. And I'm just here to tell you that you could be 3 feet from gold. You don't stop. You don't quit. You give it all you got. Now that's easier said than done. I'll give you 3 things to look out for when you're at your breaking point. That how we respond to these things, we all go through them. How do I know these things? Because I've been through them and met them many times. 3 things that I think are common when we're at that breaking point. The first is doubt. Doubt. Our own negative self-talk. The most influential voice in the world is the one in our head. It's nonstop. And that negative self-talk, that doubt, starts to creep in. Highest, loudest, most frequent, harshest when we're at that breaking point. In my opinion, doubt is the devil's language. Doubt is the devil's language. Doubt starts to creep in to mess with us at the point where we're closest to achieving what we're meant to achieve. Think about it. I bet if you look back on your life, the times where you had the highest doubt, highest negative self-talk, highest insecurity, highest anxiety, all of that wrapped up into that personal conversation in your head, you find those are the moments that you break down, if it gets the best of you. Or if you manage to push through, you break through to a whole new level of living. So we got to manage the doubt. How do we manage the doubt? Well, you got to remove yourself from your head, look around and realize, wow, there's people that have gone through what I'm going through. A lot of times examples of others, models of others are a way to inspire us out of the negative self-talk. If other people can do it, we can do it. Right? If one can do it, we all can do it. If someone can do it, it is possible. Look for models that challenge us to expand our paradigm of possibility. Surround yourself with people and an environment that tell you it is possible, that support you, that lift you up, not people that reinforce your own insecurity, your own doubt. We don't need that in our life. We need people that tell us we can, tell us you are enough, tell us it is possible, tell us it is there, tell us you are close, that keep pushing us. Make sure you got an environment that lifts you up. So there's things we can do to get out of our own head by models, by environment. And when in doubt, guys, just take action. Motion creates emotion. A lot of times we don't feel like it, so we don't do it. But it works the other way around. If you do it, even when you don't feel like it, pretty soon you'll feel like it. Motion creates emotion. Action, right, can change your state. So when in doubt, just take an action, take a step, move a step forward. Momentum creates momentum. One step leads to two, two leads to four. And that's a way to shift the doubt we have in our head. Second thing that occurs when we're at our breaking points, a lot of times is ego. Our own ego. Our own inner ego, our own outer ego. Now, you guys, ego isn't always a bad thing, right? Ego is an enabler. Ego gives us confidence. Ego can keep us safe. But a lot of times our own ego, right, our own strength can be our weakness. Ego can get the best of us. So a lot of times when we're at a breaking point, our own ego just can't take the fact that we're about to fail, or we're about to not make it, or we're about to look bad in front of others, right? Our own ego gets in our way. Our ego becomes the enemy. And if it's not the ego putting fear of failure or feel of not being good enough in our head, a lot of times it could be other people around us who know how to feed our ego to get us to go a different direction. I've seen so many people 3 feet from gold, like right there at their breakthrough moment, their ego gets the best of them. And a lot of times it's because people around them, negative influence, feed the ego, tell them what they want to hear, give them the words to affirm the doubt in their mind. And it's so easy when we're in those volatile moments to listen or be receptive to anybody that's going to affirm our own doubt, make us feel better, let us off the hook, push us a different direction, flip our filter, and all of a sudden get us to break 3 feet from our gold. You guys, you got to be mindful of the environment. You got to be mindful of what's going on in your head. You got to be mindful of the interest and the intention of the people around you. Don't just seek others and choose to listen because they're affirming doubt in your own mind. That's not a healthy relationship, a healthy mentorship. So doubt hits us at a breaking point. Ego hits us at a breaking point. And the last one is resistance. Resistance. And I can't explain this one scientifically. I can just tell you from experience that when we're at our breaking point is when we get the most resistance. It just works that way. When you're at the point where you can break down or break through, everything hits you at the same time. When it rains, it pours, right? And the only way I can explain it in my own head is that's the way for the world, the universe, the energy around to test you. They're going to throw everything in the kitchen sink. And they are going to test you to see if you're willing to do what it takes to get to the other side, to break through. And you guys, when you're in that moment and you feel like you can't go any further, you know you can go further. When you're in that moment, you feel like giving up. You got to tell yourself the world is just testing you. When you're in that moment and you feel like, man, there's no other option. You're in that moment. You're on the brink of quitting. Know that that's the moment, guys, where you push through and the world will reward you. It always will reward you for keeping resilient, keeping focused, staying the course, pushing to the next level. And the greater the challenge that you face, the greater the reward on the other side. You see, the obstacles are our opportunity. The obstacles force us to grow, force us to evolve, force us to learn, force us to progress, force us to get stronger. The obstacles are our opportunity. But in the breaking point, the resistance is heavy. But if you know it, and now you're aware of it, when you're in that moment, hopefully there'll be a glimpse of excitement because you know, wow, you're at a breaking point. Here's where you break through. So guys, those are 3 things that I've seen in the breaking point moments. Sure, there's been times where I broke down. Definitely been a lot of times where I felt like it. But there's also been plenty of times where I was able to break through because I was able to minimize the doubt, surround myself with the right people and the right conversations, and taking the action to change the emotion. Keep the ego in check, stay grounded. You guys, it's not about failing. Everybody makes mistakes. That's how we learn. That's how we iterate. And you got to be weary of the voices out there that are trying just to affirm your doubt and push you in a different direction. They're not your friend. They're the ones that keep you 3 feet from gold. And when it comes to a point where you're getting the biggest resistance, although it's tough, although it takes a lot of effort, although it's a struggle, you guys, those are the best moments, because those are the moments right before you break through. It's darkest right before the light. So, message from me to you today, whether you're someone that's been through it, I'd love your perspective. If you're someone that's in the thick of it right now, you're in the grind, hopefully you can draw some inspiration to not break down, but break through. You could be 3 feet from your gold right now. Keep going, keep digging, stay the course. And if you've been fortunate enough to never hit those breaking points and not in that energy right now, I challenge you to think bigger, do something bigger, right? Push yourself further. So that way, when you get to one of these points in the future, hopefully this conversation helps you navigate. Beautiful day, top of the hill, a little cloudy. Still gorgeous nonetheless. Thanks for our time, guys. And as always, feel free to share if you think this message will resonate with some of the people that you're in touch with in your community. Until next time, we walk together. I love our time together. Stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy. And hey, when we get to a breaking point, there's 2 options there. Breaking down, right? Doesn't have to be the one. You can break through. I believe in you. Take care, everybody. Hey guys, one last thing. I'm super excited that this new podcast, Alive by Design, just went live. You see, I designed the show to bring you inspired thoughts and fascinating conversations with the world's most impactful people, to provide transformative principles and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. And I'd love for you to help me spread the word now. Simply subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on this platform right now. So if I've ever given you value, please do me this personal favor and go subscribe now. And if you found today's episode helpful in any way, make sure you share this with at least one friend today. You have the power right now to change someone's day. So send them a text message with a link to alivebydesign.com, or simply copy and paste the link right from this podcast platform. Who's one person you know right now that you want to see succeed, that you want to see grow, that you want to see feel more alive? Shoot them a text with your largest takeaway from today and be a light in their day. And if you were referred here by a friend, make sure you shoot them a text back and say thank you. I'd love to hear from you directly on what you got from today's podcast. So if you're up for it, drop by my Instagram @BlakeMallon and shoot me a DM. And as always, thank you for showing up. I'm grateful for you. And I hope our time together today in some small way helped you feel a little more alive. Until next time.